Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why you have the bank accounts you have? Not why you opened them years ago, not why your parents told you to, but why you are using that exact combination of accounts right now. If most Americans are honest, they have a checking account and maybe a savings account at the same bank they opened in college. And that is it. But here's the question that might surprise you. Are you leaving money on the table simply because you do not understand how different bank accounts actually work? According to recent industry data, the majority of American households have at least one checking account, and more than half have a savings account. Yet many keep the bulk of their cash in low-interest accounts, earning almost nothing compared to what high-yield online banks are offering. At the same time, millions of Americans carry credit card balances while keeping idle cash sitting in accounts that barely grow. So today we are going to break down every major personal finance bank account type in U.S. banks and explain what each one is really for, who should use it, and when it actually makes sense. And make sure you stay until the end, because I will explain the simple account structure that many financially disciplined Americans use to separate spending, saving, and growth without feeling overwhelmed. Let me start with the account almost everyone has: the checking account. This is the backbone of your financial life. Your paycheck usually lands here. Your bills get paid from here. Your debit card is linked to it. It is the account you check most often. But here is the thing most people do not think about. A checking account is not designed to grow your money. It is designed for movement. Checking accounts typically pay little to no interest. Some traditional banks still offer extremely low rates. Why? Because the purpose of this account is liquidity. It is for daily transactions, not wealth building. Now here is a question. If your checking account is only meant for spending and bill paying, why do so many people leave large balances sitting there month after month? Convenience. It feels easier to keep everything in one place. But that convenience often comes at the cost of opportunity. If you are holding several $1,000s in checking earning almost nothing, that money could potentially be earning more elsewhere while still remaining safe. Another important detail about checking accounts is fees. Many banks charge monthly maintenance fees unless you meet certain requirements like maintaining a minimum balance or setting up direct deposit. Over time, even small fees can add up. So here is something to think about. Are you paying for the privilege of storing your own money? Now let us move to the second most common account, the savings account. On the surface, it seems simple. You deposit money. You earn interest. You withdraw occasionally. But there are important differences within this category that most people overlook. Traditional savings accounts at large brick-and-mortar banks often pay modest interest. In contrast, many online banks offer high-yield savings accounts that pay significantly higher rates. In recent years, especially as interest rates have risen, high-yield savings accounts have offered rates that are many times higher than traditional banks. So here's the question. If two accounts are both federally insured and both allow you to access your money, why would you choose the one paying less? Sometimes it is habit. Sometimes it is brand loyalty. Sometimes it is simply not knowing the difference. Savings accounts are ideal for your emergency fund. Most financial experts recommend keeping 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a safe and liquid account, not invested in the stock market, not locked in a long-term vehicle, but easily accessible in case of job loss, medical emergency, or unexpected expenses. And here is something important. An emergency fund is not just about money. It is about psychological security. When you know you have cash set aside, you make calmer financial decisions. Now let me ask you this. Is your savings account truly separated from your spending money? Or do you transfer back and forth so often that it functions like a second checking account? That behavior can quietly sabotage your progress. Next, let us talk about the high-yield online savings account in more detail, because this is where many Americans are starting to shift. Online banks typically have lower overhead because they do not maintain large branch networks. That cost savings often allows them to offer higher interest rates. And since deposits are insured up to federal limits, the safety level is comparable to traditional banks. But there is a trade-off. You usually do not get physical branches. Depositing cash may require extra steps. So here is the real question. How often do you actually need to walk into a bank branch? For many people, the answer is rarely. This shift toward online banking has changed how people structure their finances. Some keep their checking account at a traditional bank for convenience, but move their savings to a high-yield online bank for better returns. Now let us move into a slightly different category, the money market account. At first glance, it sounds complicated, but think of it as a hybrid between checking and savings. It typically offers higher interest than a basic savings account and may allow limited check writing or debit transactions. However, money market accounts often require higher minimum balances. They are typically suited for people who want to hold larger amounts of cash while earning a competitive rate. So here is something to consider. If you are building a larger emergency fund or holding cash temporarily before making a big purchase, could a money market account make more sense than a basic savings account? But remember, just because an account type sounds advanced does not automatically mean it is better. The right account depends on your goals, your liquidity needs, and your comfort level. Now let us talk about something that feels safe but comes with a catch. Certificates of deposit, commonly known as CDs. A CD is a time deposit. You agree to lock your money away for a fixed period in exchange for a fixed interest rate. The longer the term, the higher the rate often is. But if you withdraw early, you usually pay a penalty. In periods of rising interest rates, CDs can be attractive because they offer predictable returns without market risk. But here is the question that many people forget to ask. What happens if you need that money unexpectedly? Liquidity matters. If all of your cash is locked into long-term CDs and you face an emergency, you may end up paying penalties or borrowing at high interest rates elsewhere. So CDs can be useful for money you are certain you will not need for a defined period. But they are not a substitute for an emergency fund. Now let me pause and ask you something bigger. Do you see how each account type serves a different purpose? Checking for movement, savings for safety, high-yield accounts for better returns on idle cash, money market for larger balances, CDs for time-specific goals. Yet many people treat all bank accounts as if they are interchangeable. Now let me ask you something that might apply directly to your life. If you share expenses with someone, are you using the right type of account to manage that money? This brings us to joint accounts. A joint bank account is exactly what it sounds like. Two people share ownership of the same account. Both individuals can deposit money, withdraw money, and view transactions. It is commonly used by married couples, long-term partners, or even family members managing shared expenses. On the surface, it sounds simple. Combine money, pay bills, move on. But here is the deeper question. Should every couple combine all of their finances into one joint account? For some, it works beautifully. For others, it creates tension. A joint account can simplify rent, mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, and shared goals. But many financially healthy couples actually use a hybrid approach. They maintain a joint account for shared expenses and separate individual accounts for personal spending. This structure allows transparency while preserving autonomy. And here is something most people do not think about. When you open a joint account, you are tying your financial behavior to another person. If one person overdrafts frequently or mismanages funds, both are affected. So communication and shared expectations become critical. Now let us move to student accounts. If you opened your first account during college, chances are it was a student checking account. These accounts typically offer lower or no monthly maintenance fees and minimal balance requirements. Banks design them to attract young customers early, hoping to keep them for decades. But here's the question. What happens after graduation? Many student accounts automatically convert into standard checking accounts with regular fee structures. If you are no longer meeting fee waiver requirements, you could start paying monthly charges without realizing it. That is why reviewing your account terms after major life transitions is important. Next, let us talk about custodial accounts. These accounts are opened by an adult on behalf of a minor. The adult manages the money until the child reaches the age of majority, which varies by state. Once that age is reached, control legally transfers to the child. Custodial accounts can be a powerful tool for parents who want to teach children about saving or set aside funds for future expenses. But here is the catch that many parents overlook. Once the child reaches legal age, the money becomes theirs to use however they choose. Not how you prefer, not how you planned. It is legally theirs. So here is the bigger question. Are you saving for your child? Or are you saving for education or another specific goal that might be better suited for a different type of account? Now let us talk about business accounts. Even if you are not running a large company, this topic might apply to you. Millions of Americans now have side hustles, freelance income, or small online businesses. If you are earning money outside of your regular job, separating personal and business finances becomes extremely important. A business checking account allows you to deposit business income, track expenses, and simplify tax reporting. It also creates a clear separation between your personal life and your business operations. From a legal standpoint, especially if you operate under a limited liability company structure. Mixing funds can create complications. But here is a question many side hustlers ask. Do I really need a business account if I am just making a few $1,000s a year? Technically, you might not be required to. But from an organizational and tax perspective, separation can make your life much easier. It also gives you clearer visibility into whether your business is actually profitable. Now let us zoom out. At this point, we have discussed checking accounts, traditional savings accounts, high-yield savings accounts, money market accounts, certificates of deposit, joint accounts, student accounts, custodial accounts, and business accounts. That is a lot. And you might be wondering, do I need all of these? Absolutely not. The real power comes from structuring a simple system that matches your life stage and financial goals. Let me ask you something. Right now, if I asked you exactly how much money is allocated for bills, emergencies, future goals, and investments, could you answer confidently without opening your banking app? If the answer is no, your structure may need refinement. Many financially organized individuals in the United States follow a three-account core structure. First, a checking account for income and monthly expenses. Second, a high-yield savings account dedicated to an emergency fund. Third, separate savings buckets or accounts for specific goals such as travel, home down payment, or large purchases. Some go a step further and maintain a separate account solely for fixed expenses. Their paycheck flows into a main account, then a predetermined amount automatically transfers to the bills account. This way, rent, utilities, insurance, and subscriptions are covered without mental stress. Why does this matter? Because organization reduces friction, and friction often leads to poor decisions. If all your money sits in one account, it becomes harder to distinguish between spending money and protected money. That is when emergency funds slowly shrink without you noticing. That is when you tell yourself you will rebuild savings later. Now here is a powerful question to consider. Is your current bank account setup designed intentionally, or did it happen by default? Defaults rarely build wealth. Intentional systems do. Another important factor is federal deposit insurance. Most banks in the United States are insured up to a certain limit per depositor per bank. That means your money is protected if the bank fails, up to those limits. Understanding this can give you peace of mind when choosing between traditional and online institutions. But safety is only one piece of the puzzle. Interest rates, fees, accessibility, and digital tools also matter. In recent years, online banking has expanded rapidly because consumers demand convenience and better returns. Mobile apps now allow instant transfers, budgeting insights, and real-time alerts. So here is one final curiosity question before we wrap up this part. If technology has made it easier than ever to move money and manage accounts, why do so many people still stick with outdated account structures? Often it is inertia. Change requires effort. But sometimes a small change, like moving your emergency fund to a higher-yielding account, can make a noticeable difference over time. Let me ask you something practical. If you lost your job tomorrow, how many months could you survive using only the money sitting in your bank accounts right now? That single question often reveals whether your current account structure is actually serving you. The purpose of understanding all these bank account types is not to collect accounts like trophies. It is to build a system that supports stability, growth, and flexibility. So how do you decide which accounts you personally need? Start with your income stability. If you have a steady paycheck and predictable expenses, your structure can be simple. One checking account for income and monthly spending. One high-yield savings account for your emergency fund. And possibly one additional savings account for short-term goals. That alone covers the basics for a large portion of Americans. But if your income fluctuates, such as freelance work, commission-based jobs, or business income, separation becomes even more important. In that case, you may benefit from a dedicated tax savings account where you set aside a percentage of each payment. Many self-employed Americans run into trouble not because they do not earn enough, but because they do not separate tax money from spending money. Now consider your financial goals. Are you saving for a home down payment, a wedding, a major relocation? If so, keeping those funds in a separate goal-specific savings account can create psychological boundaries. When your emergency fund and your vacation fund sit in the same place, it becomes easier to justify dipping into both. And here is something subtle but powerful. Naming your accounts with specific purposes can change your behavior. When an account is labeled emergency fund rather than general savings, you are less likely to touch it casually. Next, think about your spending habits. Do you frequently worry about overdrafting your checking account? If so, you might consider maintaining a buffer amount that never gets spent. Some people keep a fixed cushion, such as $1,000, that they treat as untouchable. That buffer reduces stress and protects against unexpected timing issues with bills. Another mistake many Americans make is keeping too much money in checking simply because it feels safe. While liquidity is important, excess idle cash earning little interest slowly loses purchasing power over time. Inflation reduces what that money can buy. Even a modest interest difference can compound over several years. But here's the flip side. You also do not want to over-optimize by spreading small amounts across too many accounts. Complexity can lead to confusion. If you cannot clearly track where your money is and why, the system may become more stressful than helpful. Balance is key. Let us talk briefly about common mistakes. One major mistake is ignoring fees. Monthly maintenance fees, overdraft fees, wire transfer fees, and out-of-network ATM fees can quietly drain hundreds of dollars per year. Many banks waive fees if you meet simple conditions like direct deposit or minimum balances. Reviewing your statements once in a while can reveal whether you are paying unnecessarily. Another mistake is failing to review interest rates. Banks change rates over time. Just because an account offered a competitive rate 2 years ago does not mean it still does. With online comparison tools available, it is easier than ever to evaluate options. And here is something that surprises many people. Loyalty does not always equal reward in banking. Longtime customers are not always given the best rates automatically. Sometimes better offers are reserved for new customers. That does not mean you should constantly switch banks, but it does mean you should remain aware. Now let me bring everything together with a simple structure that works for many financially disciplined Americans. One checking account for income and spending. One high-yield savings account holding 3 to 6 months of essential expenses as an emergency fund. 1 or 2 additional savings accounts dedicated to specific short-term goals. If you run a business or side hustle, a separate business checking account. If you share expenses, a joint account for shared bills. That is it. You do not need 10 accounts. You need clarity. And here is the bigger mindset shift. Bank accounts are not wealth-building vehicles. They are management tools. Real long-term wealth typically grows through investments such as retirement accounts and brokerage accounts. Your bank accounts are the foundation that supports that growth by organizing cash flow and protecting against emergencies. So instead of asking what is the best bank account, ask what system helps me manage money calmly and consistently. Because financial progress is rarely about dramatic moves. It is about steady structure. Let me leave you with this question. If someone looked at your bank account setup today, would they see intention or improvisation? You have the power to redesign your structure at any time. Moving money, opening a high-yield account, separating business funds, or consolidating unnecessary accounts are all actions within your control. The goal is not complexity. The goal is clarity. If this breakdown helped you understand how personal finance bank account types really work in U.S. banks, make sure you subscribe to Cherinet Invests for more practical and strategic financial education. Share this with someone who still has all their money sitting in one account without a plan. And in the comments, tell me how many bank accounts you currently have and whether your setup feels intentional. Because once you understand the purpose behind each account, you stop guessing and start building with confidence.